This is unimaginable for us. Never, never in a million years would I ever expect to hear anything like
This
this.
is the first night I did it without her, and I don't know how I'm supposed to do it anymore.
This isn't something that happens in Piute County ever. We haven't had a tragedy like this.
This is 16-year-old Jacqueline Nunez. In 2023, she met a shocking, tragic fate at the hands of someone her whole family trusted. Were there any red flags? Could her murder have been prevented had she spoken up before? Or are cases like hers unpredictable and unpreventable, especially when someone has a gun? This is what's worrying. Jacqueline's story is not a unique case. Let's explore Jacqueline Nunez's terrifying story and the disturbingly similar cases from her home state of Utah. Jacqueline Nunez, or Jackie, was born on October 28, 2006 in Provo, Utah, to Renee and Irma Nunez Milan. Jackie was super close to her parents, but also to her sisters, Mayuni and Rosa, her brother Jonathan, and her niece Camilla. To everyone who knew them, they were the staple, big, happy family. Jackie was the little sister, and she was the most energetic one of the bunch. In 2023, she was a sophomore at Piute High School. Her biggest passion was sports. She was an athlete and participated in volleyball, basketball, softball, cross-country running, and track and field. Her family said she was a ray of sunshine in everyone's life. At the end of October 2022, Jackie celebrated her sweet 16. Her whole family was there, and so were her boyfriend Francisco and her best friends from school. Everyone felt like family there. They laughed and played games well into the night. When she vanished without a trace on January 8th, 2023, her family went into a panic. This was not like her. She was always in touch with her sisters or her friends. The search for Jackie wouldn't be long. As the family was getting ready to phone the emergency services, Piute County Sheriff's Office was already responding to a report of shots fired on Dock Spring Road, about 4 miles away from Circleville. At around 10 p.m. that night, they found the lifeless body of a teenage girl by the side of a dirt road, discarded like a puppet.
Girl dead tonight. Police say the victim of a shooting. Another tragedy rocking rural Utah.
Yeah, Mike, I am here in Junction. I'm actually just right outside of Piute High School, where 16-year-old Jacqueline Nunez was a student. She was a sophomore.
In a community as small as Junction, news travels fast. By the end of January 8th, everyone knew Jackie was gone, and everyone was in a state of shock.
This isn't something that happens in Piute County ever. We haven't had a tragedy like this.
We don't really know how to go about it other than just being together and comforting each other.
Jackie's family was in shatters. Her older sister, Mayuni, was the only one who managed to speak to the police. However, her voice was trembling. She could barely stop crying, and she felt so devastated, she didn't want to show her face on camera.
This is unimaginable for us. Never, never in a million years would I ever expect to hear anything like this.
Exactly. You don't expect to hear this anywhere in your circle, let alone learn your sister fell victim to this.
We definitely need people to be praying for our family during this time.
There was another piece of shocking information for Jackie's family and everyone at her school. Just 1 hour after finding her, the sheriff found her killer.
The suspect, her 17-year-old boyfriend, who police later tracked down and arrested after 11 o'clock last night near Salina, about 70 miles north of Circleville.
Yep, Francisco Daniel Aguilar was Jackie's boyfriend and her classmate. And yet, the detectives found him fleeing from the crime scene, and he did not resist arrest. The Nunez family was in disbelief about the whole thing.
We thought he was a good guy, but I guess appearances lie, because we all thought he was a good kid. She never reached out for help, so I'm not sure if we could have helped her or if there was anything we could have done.
They'd known Francisco for quite some time. It's unclear how long he and Jackie had been dating, but he knew the family would visit Jackie's home regularly, and everyone saw him as a good person. It's heartbreaking and disturbing that someone can hide their psychopathic impulses even at 17 years old. A week after Jackie's death, a darker story would be revealed. On the evening of January 8th, Jackie was with a friend when she got into a terrible fight with Francisco. Jackie fled from Francisco's car when he pulled out his gun and fired at her leg, shattering her femur. From there, officials report Aguilar fired multiple rounds at a vehicle that was being driven by Nunez's friend as Nunez was attempting to reach it, shattering the passenger side window and striking the vehicle's passenger side. Nunez's friend reportedly had to drive away for safety reasons after being shot at multiple times. Jackie's friend, scared for her life, drove away, leaving Jackie helpless on the ground. Francisco walked over to her and looked at her for a few seconds. One might think he would have called an ambulance. She was his girlfriend after all. But Francisco just lifted his gun one more time and fired into her head. Francisco didn't shy away from confessing to the detectives. He even confessed to one of his friends. He might have even bragged. Whichever the case, it is sickening, but to this day, we don't know his motive. Imagine being Jackie's family and not knowing why this evil person took your baby away. Maybe it doesn't make any difference, but understanding the whole story might bring a little closure to such a huge tragedy.
A teenage girl who enjoyed life to the fullest.
But that's no longer possible because everything was just so sudden, and now she's gone.
The Nunez family wrote in her obituary, she would love to be remembered as a lighthearted, funny, caring, smart, brave, strong young lady. Jackie was laid to rest on January 16th at the Enoch City Cemetery. Piute High School postponed its homecoming week events and canceled that week's extracurricular activities. They wrote on Facebook, teachers, staff, counselors, coaches, and community leaders are all at the high school today, offering services and working with students to try and comprehend the loss of their classmate and friend.
Obviously, there's a lot of pain, a lot of grief. We're trying to do all that we can for our students, provide all the services that they need.
It wasn't just Jackie's teachers and the school staff that came together. Her classmates, schoolmates, and friends all came together, decorating the school in hashtags and drawings for Jackie, and remembering her as a positive force.
Yeah, someone at Jackie's vigil said tonight, "You have shown us that in our small community, we are one big family."
It's clear Piute High School misses Jackie Nunez. She was on the school's basketball, softball, and volleyball team. She was also a stat girl for the wrestling team.
And because this was a small community, Jackie's coaches also had kids who were best friends with her and the rest of the Nunez family.
She is one of my daughter's good friends and her teammates, and she's just a big part of the community.
It's the first night I did it without her, and I don't know how I'm supposed to do it anymore.
It's hard enough to lose a loved one. In fact, it's one of the most painful experiences a human can live through. But to lose them so young and in such a brutal way, without a chance to say goodbye, it's tough to imagine how Jackie's family will ever move on from this unspeakable crime. At the moment, Francisco is being charged as an adult. It is likely he will end up spending the rest of his life behind bars if convicted of first-degree murder. But the deed is done, and Jackie can't come back. What's truly disturbing is this was not the first or last case of this nature in Utah.
So glad you are still with us because we're learning more about a possible murder-suicide in Springville yesterday afternoon.
Lily Contry was a 17-year-old attending high school in Springville, Utah. In May 2022, her 19-year-old boyfriend, Maso Conga, aimed at her head and fired. Then, he took his own life. To everyone's surprise, she survived the shot, but was put on life support. However, it was a grueling 3 days for her family, as they learned she would not recover from the coma. So, on May 21st, she was taken off life support, and her organs were donated to others who needed them urgently.
This is tragic. This is not the way we want to end school.
As the detectives would find out, just one night before the incident, Lily had broken up with Maso. His fragile ego could not handle the rejection. If he couldn't have her, nobody would. He also decided he would end his own life. As tragic as this was, it was also an easy way out for him. He never faced any legal consequences for his actions.
We've seen several students going in with their dresses in there again for Lily. Now, the school district, they are asking parents right now, especially to be watching their students for any signs of distress so they can be there for them as a school district and also as a community.
People held vigils, decorated their town in blue ribbons the color of Lily's eyes, and prayed for her family to move on. But as in the case of Jackie, people thought, would Masso have done this if he didn't have access to a gun? It's awfully easy to point and fire compared to other murder methods. In 2023, another teen lost her life in a disturbing way in Utah, but this time it wasn't due to gun violence.
17-year-old Taylor Goodrich died of a treatable condition this past December at a boarding school for troubled teens called Diamond Ranch Academy in Hurricane. Her father is now suing the school for medical neglect.
It's just one of hundreds of lawsuits against these types of facilities here in Utah.
Taylor was a student at a therapeutic boarding school called Diamond Ranch Academy. In other words, the academy was a school for troubled teens with issues such as poor anger management, major depression disorder, and learning disabilities. Until that year, Taylor had attended a regular school, but she struggled with emotional issues and her counselor recommended Diamond Ranch Academy. After speaking to her counselor, Taylor asked her dad to send her to the boarding school at least for a year.
She got Taylor to agree to go to it. What parent is there to say, hey, when their daughter or child goes, Dad, I need help, I think this will help. I'm not going to tell her no. She wanted to get help, not end up in a box.
But while they had therapists to treat the teens' ongoing mental issues, they seemed to pay no attention to the physical medical issues when they appeared. Taylor started feeling bad in October 2022. She had abdominal pain, and then she even started vomiting. But the school didn't care, no matter how much her health was degrading. Her autopsy report would conclude Taylor suffered from peritonitis. This is an infection of abdomen tissue. Untreated, it leads to sepsis, which is an extreme reaction of the body to an infection. Slowly, sepsis caused all of her organs to fail. It was a slow, painful, horrible death that could have easily been prevented with a medical examination and antibiotics. The school only took her to a hospital on December 20th, where she died within minutes. Imagine the anger and frustration you feel on top of the unimaginable grief when you know your child's death could have been prevented.
I never thought I was going to have to worry about burial plots. I mean, she's going to be missed. I mean, there's no doubt about that. She had the biggest heart. She would do anything for anybody. If somebody was down, she would try to do whatever she could to cheer that person up.
Heartbreakingly, Taylor was the third student to die at that academy since its opening. It is now permanently closed. And in 2021, Paris Hilton spoke out against the teen facilities in Utah. Reportedly, Paris suffered horrendous abuse at a facility for troubled teens in Utah in the 1990s. According to her, abuse like this is still happening in most such facilities right now. She is trying to change the law and help teens in Utah, but who knows how many other teens are suffering and no one is protecting them. This is a disturbing thought, but it seems impossible to protect your loved ones from all kinds of harm. Jackie's parents thought her boyfriend was a good guy. Lily's friends and family didn't think for 1 second that her ex would take such extreme revenge one night after their breakup. And families don't normally think the worst of therapeutic boarding schools. After all, their whole goal is helping teens get better. Could any of these deaths have been prevented? And should their families feel guilt for not seeing the red flags when there are so many red flags out there? Thanks for watching, y'all. What do you think about these cases? Why do you think Francisco killed Jackie? And should he be tried as an adult? Let me know your thoughts in a comment. And before you leave, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.